Thanks, Dave and Mike. We are here today with Professor Ray Gozzi, and he's going to talk to us about media aesthetics and how to watch TV in a smart way.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Handshake.
Glad to be here.
Thank you.
So as we learned in media aesthetics and analysis, there are 5 fields. What is the first field?
First field is light, lighting, and color. Television is nothing if it doesn't have light. So that's where it all starts. And there are people who understand light very well and who make a living out of placing colors in things and designing color schemes for shows and products and this sort of thing. And they publish books about it, and I've looked at these books and I don't understand them. It just hasn't really clicked, because color looks different depending on what other colors it's next to. Mm-hmm. So I just have to kind of do it a lot by the seat of my pants with colors.
So I remember in class you mentioned the desaturation theory, and I think a good example of that would be The Walking Dead. I feel like things are not bright on the show. Everything is desaturated and the colors are muted. What is that doing for the audience?
Well, that's an interesting observation. When a color gets desaturated, they add white, so it becomes more pale. And sometimes it's very subtle, so you don't really notice. Saturated color is bright and out there, and a desaturated color is, well, paler, and as a result, you as a viewer have to be more involved in completing the image, in making sense of what you're seeing, and so it draws the viewer in. When Herbert Zettl, who's the grand old man of 5 fields, the man who came up with the 5 fields, was thinking about this, he was thinking about drawing the viewer into romantic scenes and things like that. Walking Dead is different. But it's true, they aren't giving you a lot of bright red blood splattering around and so on. It's pale and washed out, and that does pull you in more.
And that's interesting, because you said usually it's more romantic with less light, but in Pushing Daisies, which we watched in class, it was hyper-saturated, but a very romantic show.
Yes, yes, that's right.
And so what do warmer and colder colors mean? Like with Joan on Mad Men, she's often wearing, red stuff because she's really seductive. Does that psychologically have an impact?
I think, it depends on what kind of blue you're talking about as to whether it's cool or warm, and what else are you wearing with it. But I think, the flame, the red, the emotional clothing for the seductive and out there kind of woman that's pretty classic.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what's the second field?
Second field is looking at the screen area and forces. Television is really a 2-dimensional screen. That's what it is. And so just trying to look at that screen itself and make sense out of it is what the second field is about. The best thing to discuss probably is the kinds of shots that appear. You can have close-ups. This is fairly much of a close-up right here, right? And on out to extremely long shots where you see just the whole body of the person kind of far away. And most of television is medium and medium close shots with people talking back and forth. The angle of the shot is very important. If you have a low angle and you're looking up at a person, that gives them authority. I noticed actually in the first time we see the main character in Mad Men. It's a low-angle shot. We're looking up at him, and you know he's the man. And I think it's very powerful there. So, and then of course, if we're looking down on someone, it's looking down on them. So.
Yeah, also there was a shot in the Mad Men pilot of from the top of their skyscraper looking down on the people below. And so that kind of signified that they were the top of the food chain, you know, more powerful, more higher status than everyone else?
Yes, their height. And you know, something else that occurs to me, because in the credits for Mad Men, we have the character falling down from that height, wearing his suit and floating past these skyscrapers with advertisements on them. And this is always the fear that is underneath all these people, that they are going to crash.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can do a lot with that.
I noticed in Breaking Bad they have a lot of point of view shots, whether it be inside a fridge or, you know, at the end of a shovel. What is that doing? Like, why are there objects with cameras on them? Is it maybe to show that they're worried about being watched or seen?
I don't know. They're interesting. They're visually interesting. They're lively. The shot of from inside a dryer, where he's drying out the money that got all wet and everything, and totally actually laundering his money, right? It was just interesting television, just interesting visually. I don't think they are being watched, are they, yet? They've skirted around the law.
Yeah, just like the paranoid.
Yeah, it's the paranoia that they could be watched, you know, they're always...
Yep, could be slightly paranoid, but I don't get fear in that so much as just visually interesting.
All right, so that was the second field. What is the third field?
Well, the third field is space, volume, and depth. And of course, television is a two-dimensional screen. You need to create an illusion of space in that two-dimensional screen. And you do this by putting things slightly in front of one another so that one of them looks farther away. The different sizes of the objects is very important. So things farther away will look smaller. That sort of technique.
So I noticed in Pushing Daisies, there was a lot of use of being symmetrical. Everything on the left was also on the right. You know, why are they trying to make it perfect?
Well, that show in particular is, it's trying to say we're in a fairy tale kind of universe, and we're having this kind of magical sequence, this magical story happening. I don't know, that's another two-dimensional thing, that kind of composition of the shot being so symmetrical is more a two-dimensional than a three-dimensional thing.
Okay, and then so the fourth field.
Fourth field is time, motion, and editing. And basically, editing is so crucial, so important to how you put together a show. And as you folks know from doing a show, you realize the editing that goes on. But many viewers, it just kind of, you know, goes by. And yes, that's it. Yes, now this. And people don't really pay attention to it.
What are some popular editing techniques?
Well, the most common editing technique is just the cut. You cut from one scene into another. And as I said, I think in class today, you know, the cut technically doesn't exist. Does not exist.
Okay.
But with digital effects now, and of course with television all being digital, this is opening up a whole new realm of things that you can do with computers that you know, an Ithaca College graduate 10 years ago would not have dreamed of doing. And we're just starting to feel our way into digital special effects.
So I noticed montages are very popular. Why are they used?
Montage goes way back to the beginning of cinema. So this is way back before any of us was born. And you can do all kinds of things with montage. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Basically, a montage is where you take images that are separate and put them together one after the other. There could be of separate events going on, could be separate parts of the same event that you show. There are all kinds of different ways of doing it. It makes it, again, more interesting, visually more interesting. And I think ultimately that's one of the main goals of television aesthetics, is if people are enjoying the basic visuals, that takes you a long way toward they will like your show.
Yeah, there was a great scene in Community in the clip show episode where they took clips of all Jeff's different speeches and put it together in a montage, but it was a linear story, so it was kind of a meta use of montage.
Very interesting. And that's also one way to deal with somebody talking a lot, which can be, as we sometimes know, dull, right? Right? So that'll help you out there.
All right, and the last field, the fifth field, what is that?
Is sound. And it's interesting because we often don't pay attention to sound, but it's very, very important. And many people have the TV on, but aren't watching it. They're doing other things, but they're listening. And the sound tells them when something interesting, and then they turn away and they look at the, right? And so the sound is extremely important.
Yeah, I mean, you really notice without sound, it gets really uncomfortable. Like, Mad Men uses a great, like, the typewriter and the phone calls in the back, like, for a good sense of ambiance for the office setting in the 50s
and
or
even,
60s.
Yeah, and with Mad Men, they use a lot of songs from 1960. So, I mean, that adds with the costumes and the set that you really believe that this is taking place in 1960.
Yeah, it all comes together.
That's right.
I hear the words diegetic and non-diegetic thrown around a lot. Can you explain to me what those mean?
They're big words for story related. Are the sounds from within the story, or are the sounds just to kind of keep us moving along? So you could have music playing that's diegetic and helping tell the story, or you can have non-diegetic music that's just kind of
In the background?
yeah, you're just going along and you're going to the subway and there's the music. And
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's like on Glee when they have the bumbling music in the background, and then, but that's non-diegetic, but when the characters actually sing, that would be diegetic, right?
yes, yep, that's right.
So why do we even study the 5 fields?
Just the value of the 5 fields. When we watch television, it all comes out together. It all hits us at once. And that's how we experience it. And the 5 fields give us a way of kind of taking that experience apart and seeing it, how it's put together, how it is done. Because as you know, it is put together. That this, I think, will help you be a better producer of video, but also a better consumer of video if you're familiar with them.
Okay, so I just want to know your thoughts about 3D TV. Is it going to catch on? Is it going to change the viewing experience at home?
I saw the first 3D movie come out in about 1954. That's partly how old I am. And, oh, this was going to take over movies and everything was going to be 3D. And guess what? Didn't happen. And I feel the same thing is going to happen with, there'll be somebody who likes it, there'll be some people who like it, but you have to be in pretty much just the right position to appreciate 3D. And for instance, I go into Best Buy and they have these glasses that are on a stand, and you look, you pound down and you look through the glasses, and yeah, it's a nice 3D picture. But if you move, you know, if you want to do anything else, who wants to have something like that in your living room,
Right.
where you were going to? So I don't see this really as going much of anywhere.
Okay, is there anything else about the 5 fields you want to tell us?
I have added a 6th field, of course, and that's telling the story.
Okay.
That involves writing, acting, and directing. And that's more and more people in media just see everything in media as involved with telling a story. If it doesn't tell a story, they don't want to deal with it. So I would just chime in a little bit with a 6th field.